West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, June 19th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. Very happy Juneteenth to you all out there. Yeah. Bill and I were just talking about this. I kind of break with conservatives on this because I'm like, guys, we're the party as Republicans that formed around the issue of ending slavery.
It's kind of important.
And then
group when
Juneteenth is a
when
celebration
the Whigs dissolved
of the
and the Republicans
end of
emerged.
slavery.
Yeah, come on.
Why not spike the football, guys? Like, embrace it. Plus, I've been down to Juneteenth. I used to set up a little Republican booth down there because that was a coalition.
Oh, that's great.
Set up booths with Juneteenth. It's a ton of fun. Jazz music.
Oh, heck yeah.
Right down at 5 points.
Yep. And there's a point where, and there's a thing that I believe that, like you did, if you join in on their celebrations, they're more amenable to your message. The idea that we're here to celebrate this. And if you talk to them about the cultural significance, then you can lead into some core conservative values about freedom and choice, and you can get into, I mean,
this is what the Republican Party was for. It's like
kind of the reason.
Basis was to end slavery.
Yeah. So.
And then you have Ronald Reagan, and then lo and behold, Juneteenth is the announcement of the news reaching Galveston, Texas, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So, you know what? I mean, and plus it's a day off. So
heck yeah, days off are always great. That's the thing. Also, absolutely. And there would be times in which you can reach out to the community and celebrations. And the other idea is come down there and do some, just do some good, do some ideas. And, imagine if you're doing some fundraisers or things like, raising money for when the kids go back to school to do the backpacks. And then you hand out the backpacks in the community. There's a whole bunch of community building that's possible there because this is a celebration. Because, despite the Emancipation Proclamation, some of us weren't at the meeting and didn't get the memo until several years later. That was a problem. That was a really big problem because there were some people that were like, shh, don't tell them. Right. They don't know yet.
Keep them working for free.
Exactly. Yeah, we know they can't read, so as long as you don't tell them, it's still a secret. Yeah, not a good thing. No, that's not the best way to make sure that we follow the law. Is the shh protocols? No, not good. No.
Well, we've got a lot to cover today. We'll give you the latest on what's happening in Israel and Iran. Bill and I will talk the transgender Supreme Court case. Took place yesterday, the decision coming out of that. George Brockler is going to join us, talk about this case coming out of Highlands Ranch. A minister from Highlands Ranch served in a church, sentenced after he's found guilty of sexually assaulting his daughter.
Jeez. This is a hard one.
This is a wild case, too, because the minute that they were notified, Sheriff Darren Weekly and the Special Victims Unit were like right there at the door trying to get control of the situation. Yeah. We'll get the latest on what happened all here. And then Diane Ferraro, the CEO of Save the Storks, is going to join us. There are these mobile units that go around and provide ultrasounds.
Yeah.
And so if you're pregnant, you can see your baby and hear its heartbeat.
I think it's great. Any way, for whatever motivation, but any way we can help individuals get access to health care, and especially ultrasounds and care for an unborn child, absolutely, 110%. This is great. And for me, it is regardless of politics. This is just providing medical care for women that want it and have some questions about things that are going forward. And I don't think there is any harm in more information and access to care. So this is great. I'm really excited about this conversation.
So lots to talk about today, plus all the latest news. But now is time for News and Comment with Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Thursday morning. It is beautiful outside. Just go outside and look at the mountains this morning. 58 and
That's why we put up with all the progressive leadership in the state of Colorado.
No doubt,
It's
man.
just have
There
the
is
beautiful
no
views,
question.
and lovely weather, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. The colors, it is so nice outside right now. And it is Juneteenth. And you're right, Jeff. That's why we do put up with it. Expecting a high of 95 today. So when you say, oh my God, it's so hot out there, just think you could be in Galveston, Texas. Okay? That's when it's hot. When it's 95 and nothing but humidity. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
All my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first and make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time.
DJT on everything surrounding the Iranian-Israeli conflict, including the Tucker-Ted interview here in the States. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu vows Iran will pay a heavy price after a missile hit a hospital in the southern part of the country. The strike forced the evacuation of 20 patients. Israel says Iran launched dozens of ballistic missiles overnight. U.S. lawmakers urging the DJT administration to create a coordinated evacuation plan for Americans in Israel. 47 says Iranians may actually come to D.C.
Look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way.
Wow, that would
Blake.
be, yes.
I totally support your pronunciation, whatever way that you want to, as far as Iran or Iran.
Yes.
Because it's one of my favorite things to do. Every once in a while, this question comes up in bar trivia. And only a certain segment of the audience, yourself and will be included in this, will understand this and really have fun with it.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll get a question that pops up that's in rotation about what modern-day country was originally called Persia. So, in order to do that,
Iran!
Yes, but I try to add an audio clue to this. So I reach back into the early new wave days of the 80s, and I play the classic single from Flock of Seagulls, which is I Ran So Far Away. So if you know the name of the song, it gives you the answer. So again, for me, pronounce it whatever way you want, because every time you say I ran, the tune in my head starts. So I'm happy with that, man. I'm just telling you. No judgment.
I love that song, man.
And I will constantly mispronounce things. So again, no judgment. All friends here.
Well,
I love it.
I appreciate that, man.
I think it's fantastic.
So you have it queued up. I ran so far away.
Oh, yeah, all the time I play it underneath. Yes, exactly.
And how perfect, how appropriate. I ran so far away.
And the funny part is that that there's only a certain demographic if you're under a certain age. Like you get to about 45 in the bar trivia. Under that, no one gets it.
No.
But if you're older, everyone's like, yes! And you hear cheers. Yeah. So I'm like, my
so
people.
Cool.
Yeah, they're my people. I gotcha. Yeah, okay.
And the rest of the crowd is just staring at you
I don't
like,
get it. Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Why is the bar guy dancing to the song? This is weird and awkward. All right. I'm sorry. I had to do that, man. All right, back to your news.
I love it. Barry Sotero says the U.S. is heading dangerously close into autocracy. The former president said the current political climate is not consistent with American democracy, but with autocracies, where one person holds absolute power, coming from one of the biggest commies ever created. Barry Sotero. Goodness gracious. The wife of the terrorist who tried to kill people in Boulder says she and her children are being treated like animals by federal authorities. Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's horrible. They probably aren't feeding them. They're probably not feeding them, and they're probably in in a cell block way down deep in a basement somewhere. It's really cold. Whatever. Hayam El Gamal made her first public comments Wednesday in a statement released by her lawyer. El Gamal said she and her 5 children were shocked by the June 1st attack, adding so many lives were ruined that day. Well, she's correct there. She also says they have been cooperating with federal authorities in their investigation of her husband, Mohammed Solomon. The U.S. government detained El Gamal and her children shortly after the attack and attempting to have them deported. They're currently being held in a detention center in Texas.
They came here on a visitor's visa, overstayed it, and now are concerned about being deported because the husband and father actively tried to kill American citizens. This seems so easy to me.
You would think. Yep.
It's
safety of everyone
we're not
involved.
putting you in a prison in another country. You're just going home to the country you came from.
Get to go.
And in that country,
get one of
they
those home-cooked
celebrate
meals.
people who hurt Jews.
Yeah, they're heroes, no doubt. Absolutely. Great point. Authorities searching a Larimer County lake for a missing fisherman. 80-year-old Larry Baker of Fort Collins was reported missing on Tuesday. Baker's vehicle was found at Watson State Wildlife Area later that day, spurring a search of the area. The search continued Wednesday with assistance from the Larimer County Dive Team and Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The lake has been closed since Tuesday night, and officials are asking people to stay away from the area. Fire crews battling a blaze near Walcott. The Red Canyon fire caused a stretch of I-70 to be shut down for several hours before both east and westbound lanes were reopened. The National Weather Service in Pueblo confirms an EF1 tornado swept through Teller County as part of Tuesday afternoon's storms. The agency says the tornado reached wind speeds as high as 106 miles per hour and touched down 2 miles northeast of Divide. So, wait, who am I thinking of? Dwayne, right, guys? Yeah.
Dwayne, Divide.
Yeah. Dwayne, maybe he can give us a little report on that.
Yeah.
Because that's in the high country, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a tornado in the mountains,
that's up near Woodland Park.
Right. And it's the 7th tornado to touch down in the county, which shocked me. I mean, that's just me. I think it's rare, but love to hear from him. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 55 in Brighton, 56 in Sheridan, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Billy, I ran so far away. What do I have?
Be a little less snarky. I know, you're right. That is a problem that I have. I'm sorry.
Man, that interview, a little snarky. We'll play a little bit more of that later with Ted and Tucker. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The heat is on. Denver in the Front Range will have some of the hottest temperatures of the year so far, starting today and lasting through the weekend. Low to mid-90s and sunny, mid-60s tonight, hot, 90s to near 100 for Friday, mid to upper 90s Saturday, low to mid-90s Sunday, cooling off, just 70s and low 80s by Monday. Dry until Sunday night and Monday when thunderstorms return. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, did you catch that interview between Tucker Carlson and Mr. Ted Cruz?
Jeez, that's an
U.S.
hour.
Senator
That's an
Ted
hour
Cruz.
of my life I'll never get back.
I think, was it an hour? I thought it was 2 hours.
It was 2 hours. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to put that on hold. Okay, we'll get you in a second, caller.
That might be Dwayne from
Yeah, it might be. I'll have to check there in a second. It was an hour of my life because in those circumstances, I listened to it on 2 times speed. So any of those podcasts, anything like that, that's normally so I
gotcha.
Yeah, so it was only an hour of my life.
What'd you think?
Oh God! If I had more time, I would have put it on 3 times speed because I can listen to that if I have my eyes closed. But if I have my eyes open, too many distractions. I can do 3 times, but 2 times is fairly easy. Just doing other stuff, and I was reading at the same time too. It was convoluted. It was weird. It was oddly contentious.
Yeah.
There were points where it did remind me of our show. There were times I'm like, oh, there we go. And then there were times where it seemed to spiral out of control.
Genesis is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Name the verse. You can't name the verse.
Yes, there were a couple of times there. There was a quote that surprised me that Tucker said that I'm tempted to go and pull just to hang on to play out of context, completely out of context later on, is where he said, I'm wrong, but I'm insincere, but I'm sincere. I'm wrong, but I'm sincere. Is that an endorsement? You're sincerely wrong? I just, like, what? And he was talking about the fact the number of times he's been wrong. He kept going back to the fact that he was wrong about the Iraq War. And he was saying, well, I'm wrong a lot of times, but I'm sincere. Not sure that's the endorsement you think it is, Tucky. Not sure that's necessarily the best thing.
What do you think of that conversation?
I came away, and I agree. Unfortunately, I wasn't as smart as Billy to speed it up, but I listened to it in real time for 2 hours. Maybe it may have taken me 2.5 hours. I don't know, because I had to stop it a couple of times. But I came away thinking that, thank God we have both of them, because you can be a conservative and disagree. And Tucker does, in my opinion, he does what he should do. He should ask as many questions as possible and be skeptical of everyone in office and in D.C. And I think he does a good job with that. And Ted Cruz, I admire him, and he's intelligent. But I'm like you. I kind of came away with, dang. I think we could have probably covered all that in about 15 minutes. Without all the drama. But then again, I think it's healthy in the end.
I thought I thought it just got bogged down in the mud on Israel. I mean, that's like a good chunk of the middle. And Tucker's going, I'm not obsessed with Israel, but we've spent 45 minutes diving into how AIPAC fundraises and the influence it has on our government. And look, foreign governments and countries absolutely try to influence the United States. Everybody does. They all want a piece of the pie. They want the money. They want the trade. They want the favorability. So, they send in lobbyists and people register and all that. And I don't think Ted Cruz takes orders from Netanyahu and then tries to make it happen in America. But I did think it got bogged down there on Israel stuff. And I thought Cruz was right to kind of criticize, because out of all the countries trying to influence America, it seemed like Tucker was pretty set on discussing Israel.
Yeah, that sudden allegation of anti-Semitism caught me off guard because, again, I was listening to it in the background while I was doing something else. So I'm paying attention to the conversation, but I'm doing something that just visually, I'm just kind of scrolling through that I find interesting and browsing some stuff. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait, hold on. It just all of a sudden went from like 5 to 9.
But I don't think Ted Cruz was saying he was anti-Semitic.
Oh, no, not at all. I don't think so either.
Tucker interpreted it as that. But then, what did he keep calling him? A cat something?
Something? He called him brain fart.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
But he kept referring to like a wily cat or something like that.
Yeah.
I was trying to find it here.
There are a couple of things in there that were, and then the isolationist. They threw that out a lot. Yeah, the thing for me is that I think that Cruz had a point, but he expressed it incorrectly. He came at Tucker and said, how come you're so focused on Israel? You're always about the Jews. I'm like, oh, that's not the way to do it. What he should have asked is, are you concerned about lobbying groups that might be connected or have a voice connected to any other government around the world? Does that matter at all, or is it only this one? That's a better question.
A sleazy feline.
Yes, there it is.
Sleazy feline.
Yeah.
I was going to say canine.
I really did like Tucker calling Ted Cruz on his political speech. And what I mean by that is, we all know this. There's an unwritten understanding that politicians have a certain speech pattern, and they do certain things when given the mic. And I liken it to an open flame. If a politician has access to a room, they will light up and speak until all of the oxygen is sucked out of the entire room. They aren't going to stop until there's a reason to stop. And that's just how it is. And so I loved the fact that there were times in which Tucker would. I wish he would do it a lot more. But when Cruz obviously got into his pre-done speech patterns, the paragraphs that he had pre-prepared, that he has done at stump speeches and with constituents and on the floor dozens of times before, when he falls into it and you can see it and hear it. I appreciated when Tucker stopped him on some of those. He did call him on some of that and push back on it a lot because, yeah, you could tell it. You're like, okay, here we go. The ride's starting again. It's almost like you start hearing the carousel music. You're like, okay, we're going up and down on the horse for a while here. Yeah, kind of. But I appreciated that part of it.
Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz. What do you think of the conversation? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Would love to hear from you. There are elements of kind of the Jeff and Bill show, but they all came through okay, right?
Yeah.
So they'll be friends afterwards.
You know, one thing that when I was listening to it, it made me think of a statement. I can't even remember where I heard this, but I think it would be where they were talking about AIPAC. I think it would be a cool idea if all elected officials had the logos of everyone who is supporting them.
Oh yeah, like NASCAR drivers.
Like NASCAR.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's on our show where I heard that. But wouldn't that be cool? I mean, then we know who's paying them. And who's supporting them and why they are influenced the way they are.
Giant ACLU and Planned Parenthood across the Democrats.
Just everybody has their congressional jacket, and you put it on before you have to do Congress business or interviews. Yes, I love that idea.
While I was listening to that, I'm like, there you go. We don't need suits anymore. Yeah. We just need logos and different colored T-shirts.
And this makes up for the money they're going to lose if we stop them from trading stocks. We just allow them to sell sponsorship logos. And again, the bigger the logo, so you can see it on TV, the more you have to pay. Yes, absolutely. You want that top lapel? That's a certain amount there. You want to do lower, lower pocket? Okay, that's lighter. It's smaller, not as visible. That's going to cost you less. There could be tiers of support. I like this idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, speaking of endorsements, let's talk L&L heating and air conditioning.
Fantastic transition.
Look, it's going to start to get hotter and hotter here, and I'm proud. I'm proud to have a little L&L heating and air conditioning logo on my lapel pin. They're a great mom-and-pop company based here in South Metro Denver, and our AC went out last summer. The whole line froze, and we had a number of folks out to come review it, and they just said, look, your whole system's 15 years old, builder grade, it's barely hanging on, you need a new system. So we talked with a number of different companies, and they delivered for us. And listen to this, it's going to be 101 on Friday, 100 degrees on Saturday. If your AC's acting up, maybe you don't need a new one, maybe you just need a repair, well, give L&L Heating and Air Conditioning a call, $0 trip fee, no emergency charges. They'll price match value guarantee on any equipment. So if you really like a particular brand, they'll price match it for you. They'll give you a free programmable thermostat or carbon monoxide detector if you install a new furnace or air conditioner. Free estimates, licensed and insured, a 5-year labor warranty. When they came and installed at our house, it was a 1-day process. personal service from start to finish. Followed up to make sure everything was perfect. Our home totally comfortable no matter what the weather. We got peace of mind with L&L heating and air conditioning. Everything works great. We couldn't be happier. So if you're looking for fast, honest, reliable service, not corporate, but locally owned and operated, I highly recommend L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. 720-851-1691 is the phone number. Online at bestdenverhvac.com. bestdenverhvac.com. I'm sure glad we called him. That number again, 720-851-1691. Did we lose Dwayne? I was just about to go back to Dwayne.
Yeah.
Well, Dwayne, call back. We'll get you next. Want to hear about the Twister?
He probably got sucked up. He's going to Kansas now. He's gone. We'll
get Dwayne back, and hopefully he can give us an update on what happened at that Twister and Divide.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Let's see if he meets the Scarecrow. This is Denver's talk station, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Israel saying Iranian missiles have struck a major hospital. Iran struck the largest hospital in southern Israel, the New York Times reporting. President Trump has offered no timetable on deciding whether to order U.S. forces to join attacks on Iran's nuclear sites. So here's the latest. Israel's defense minister warned on Thursday that the Israeli military would intensify its strikes on strategic targets in Iran after a barrage of Iranian missiles hit several locations, including the largest hospital in southern Israel. The threat from the defense minister came after the Israeli military launched a wave of strikes against targets in Iran, including a nuclear complex. Stepping up Israel's attacks, the defense minister said it would remove the threats to the state of Israel and would destabilize the Ayatollah's regime. The Israeli hospital, the Soroka Medical Center in the city of Beersheba, said it had sustained widespread damage and asked people to stay away. It is the first Israeli hospital to be hit directly since the war with Iran began last Friday. The latest exchange of strikes came as uncertainty hung over the Middle East about whether or not President Trump would send American forces to join Israel's sweeping campaign against Iran's nuclear program and military. I have ideas as to what to do, Mr. Trump said during an Oval Office event. He said, I like to make a final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change.
Much like our high schoolers. I'll do that assignment the night before it's due.
Well, I think that's a little bit different because I don't think he's showing his hand and not quite sure what he wants to do yet. And I'll say this, my gut is telling me if Iran hit anything American, a post office box, that would unleash Trump. He's just waiting.
Yeah.
That becomes the justification. I mean, anything American gets touched by a bullet from Iran.
There was something I want to have your opinion on. Again, we didn't talk about this off the air, so I'm not sure it's fair to bring this up just randomly. But talking about who Trump in this situation is getting advice from. And the reason why I want to bring this up is I'm reading things in some media, not across the spectrum. So I'm not putting a ton of weight into this, but I do find it intriguing, the concept and the idea. So again, I'm not saying this is what's going on, but I want to discuss the idea of what if this is going on. And that is, there's some reporting that Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth have been cut out, per se, of some of the larger strategic conversations about what's going on with Iran and Israel. Now, all parties involved say, no, not at all. But there's reporting that several conversations about possible military action and debriefs on what Israel is doing have specifically kept them out of the loop. They have not been involved in the conversations. And if it was a one-off, okay. But the fact that I hear the reporting happening several times makes me question whether or not this could be true. Your thoughts, Jeff, on the idea that Trump might not be getting advice from the top level of the cabinet members and instead looking at the generals, which might be the more experienced one in this case. But one, I don't know if you've run into that, and two, just your thoughts about it, if it could possibly be true and what the implications are.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
That's fair.
But
because it's a minor, it's a small
Vance
thing.
saying that Gabbard's a critical part of the team, even in light of the president kind of making some remarks that differed with hers.
The disagreement,
on whether or not there was a nuclear capability, a nuclear weapons capability taking place in Iran. So I haven't seen that on the rights kind of
on their sphere
accounts, that type of thing.
Now, Vance, from what I'm seeing, Vance is one of the ones that is in this security meeting. Which, so he's on the, again, inside outside. What I'm hearing is that Vance and many of the Joint Chiefs, so the top generals, and a couple other advisors are in there, but the ones, and again, only because it is salacious. And they are more liberal, and they are more liberal outlets, and I haven't seen it across platforms. So again, I'm not putting a ton of weight into it, but I find the concept interesting that Hegseth and Tulsi have been somewhat cut out of some of these larger decisions. I just find it interesting, even if there are several meetings going on without them, I still find that interesting. Don't know what it means, though. Don't know what it means.
Interesting. Something we'll have to continue to watch there. Well, let's talk Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade, pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan has spent 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt in a serious motor vehicle crash. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. In fact, Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. So it looks like this war bill is just kind of chugging along.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would take some type of action against anything American for Donald Trump to actually get kinetic with U.S. forces in this case? Or would he do it purely to defend Israel?
I do think he would do it purely to defend Israel. I do, although I think you are absolutely correct that as soon as anything associated with America or even a pamphlet that has an American flag on it is burnt in some sort of attack, absolutely. It won't matter if some of the debris splashed up upon an American car. I do believe that. I mean, that's how thin I believe the line is for where Trump is at this point. But yes, I do believe that he can be convinced by Netanyahu and other members that this is a greater cause. And I do think that, unlike in the first term, I do believe there is somewhat of a focus with Trump on legacy. But I think it's different than previous presidents as far as what they want and what they want their legacy to be, because Trump is a unique individual. He sees the world differently than our past presidents, and he governs differently than our past presidents in my mind. So I believe he views the world differently, and if he is convinced that this places him in the pantheon of some of the leadership greats, here's the crazy part about it. Okay, and again, I admit this is crazy, but if someone can convince him that the idea of joining this war kinetically and helping Israel and bringing, air quotes, peace to the Middle East is a way for him to possibly get that Nobel Peace Prize, he's doing it. Because I still think that there is this personal thing in the back of his mind that the fact that Obama got one and he doesn't have one is still a bone of contention. So for me, it would depend on the sales
even
job.
Before he hadn't even taken office yet. Had he?
I don't care about how, when, or why. It's just the idea that Trump is severely mad that the guy before him has something that he feels he didn't earn, and Trump feels that he can earn it. So if you give him a pathway to it, and again, this would be a monumental sell, I believe, to convince him that we can bomb our way to a peace prize. But I've seen crazier things.
Barack Obama.
Yeah, exactly. So there are other things. So, but that's where I think it would land, is if they convince him that regardless of no attacks on Americans, that he can enshrine himself in the pantheon of the great leaders, and this puts him in the inside track for a possible Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's real interested. I think he's at that 3/4 of the way where he's almost ready to sign the deal for the timeshare. I think that's where he is in the sales pitch at that point. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going on. I don't know if they're pitching that at this point.
What do you think about Iranian missiles hitting hospitals? Some of the text messages going, well, this happens in Gaza a lot. I'm not quite sure you can equate the two in the sense that, and I don't know this, but I'm guessing that Israel is not putting military operations underneath their hospitals in the same way that Hamas has done that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's right to equate the two. And did you see any indication that Iran specifically targeted a hospital, or are they just chucking stuff up with the hopes that it'll land somewhere?
See, the thing is, I wouldn't put it past Iran to be targeting hospitals, only because they want to have maximum damage and bring the enemy to their knees. And the easiest to do that is to hurt the population. And if you can't attack the military, you attack the population. That's the second tier. So I wouldn't put it beyond them. I do agree with you. That is a different idea between what Israel, and while I disagree with some of the actions that Israel has taken inside of Gaza, that the hospitals inside of Gaza are a different type of military target than hospitals in Israel. Whether or not that means missile attack, we can discuss. But I do believe that how Hamas had set it up and made them a base of operation does make them a legitimate target for a variety of actions, and we can always debate those actions. And it's interesting you brought that up. One of the things I think is in Iran's detriment at this point in this conflict is that they aren't prepared at the same level Israel is. And what I mean by that is shelters. Israel has built bomb shelters for decades, and there is a shelter plan. Everyone has their local shelter. They have alerts, and there is a system. Iran has none of that. They don't have any shelters. They don't have any systems. There are no alerts. In fact, there were reports coming out of Iran that there were no alerts before the Israeli attack at all. So that's like, the tornado siren's not going off before the tornado hits. Again, different form of disaster, but that's scary. And so Iran was so convinced that this wasn't going to happen, they have nothing internally in order to keep the citizens safe, and so now they're scrambling. I'm hearing about them trying to convert parking structures and other things into some sort of shelter.
Israel hasn't been hitting civilian targets.
No, not at all. But I'm just saying that it's showing some of the vulnerability inside of Iran.
Yeah,
they're
right.
just like, oh my gosh.
Speaking of that, did you hear about the cyber attack that stole $90 million of crypto from Iran?
Yes.
A hacking group called Predatory Sparrow on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Think of a sparrow as predatory.
Like
claimed responsibility for a cyber attack that stole digital assets worth at least $90 million from the Iranian cryptocurrency exchange Novatex. The group posted on social media early on Wednesday in Persian that it had targeted Novatex, Iran's largest crypto exchange, and would publish the exchange source code next, rendering remaining assets on the platform more vulnerable.
Ooh. Now that's, again, just on a side note, it's a reminder. Your crypto money thingies, that's just a series of code inside a machine, not the secure thing
Bill,
you really think it is.
You're gonna tick off so many people.
Oh, sure.
When you start to criticize crypto, our text messages are gonna light up probably worse than anything else.
You can go and buy your fake pogs all you want. Go right ahead. Just go right ahead and do it. Yeah, how those NFT worked out. That worked out great. Yeah. Again, go right ahead. Purchase whatever the heck you want. I have snakes in my house. That's a silly expense. The amount of money I've spent on those reptiles is somewhat ridiculous. So, okay, we all have our ridiculousness. You do you.
The internet has been in a near total blackout for more than 12 hours in Iran right now. There have been severe internet disruptions since the wars began. Press TV and Iranian state news outlets said the government was taking steps to prevent Israel from using Iranian networks for spying on military operations. Oh, so they're saying we did this ourselves. Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, sure you did.
Oh, here come the phone calls on crypto, Bill. All right, we'll continue. We got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time in the morning. We give you what you really need to get going. A little You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, it's time of the morning where we get to play America's favorite fake radio news game show. It is You Choose the News. Yes, you know how this works. I've scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans, giving them more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why would we be this silly and ridiculous this early in the morning? This is valuable KNUS airtime, for goodness sakes. Well, nobody in charge is awake at this hour, so when left unsupervised, Jeff and I will do what we will. And yeah, it's an unfortunate lesson that even our parents learned in our teenage years. But we live and we learn. And we learned you always got to bring somebody in as the fall guy. That's why Blake Olson joins us from the news department. Okay, gentlemen, here are your possible headline choices this morning. Headline number 1, police confront jarhead. Headline number 2, just Google it. Headline number 3, we're reinventing the past. And headline number 4, getting to the bottom of the problem. Mr. Hunt.
Jarhead.
Yes. Police confront Jarhead. Here we find ourselves in beautiful South Carolina. Recently, police arrested 56-year-old Charles Antoine Jr. and was charged with some relatively unusual crimes. See, the police were responding to a missing persons report, and while searching Charles's home, well, they allegedly found some human remains kept in jars.
Gross.
Yeah, like preservatives.
Is this Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, I have no idea. But see, Antoine, a woman named Christy Ward, were reportedly missing by their family members in Brunswick County in North Carolina. Florence County Sheriff deputies searching for the duo on Saturday noticed their car was almost completely submerged in a nearby river. They're investigating. They found out where Antoine was staying at the time, and he had a jar that had human remains inside. No certain if it's whether or not
do
it's
we know
missing
what kind
Christy.
of remains?
No, they have not said. Yet. But they do know that it looks like Christy may be gone, but we don't know if it's Christy in the jar. So I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's just, I don't know. I'm going to save this for later, kind of. I don't understand. I have no idea. But that's got to be awkward. How do you take in the jar and how do you tag it? And okay. Again, why I'm not a police officer. Alrighty.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Yes, exactly. Imagine that. So hopefully you're having a jar of smoothie or something. Okay, here we go. Blake, just Google it. We're reinventing the past or getting to the bottom of the problem.
Just Google it.
Yeah, why don't we just Google it? Well, at least that's what they are doing in Czechoslovakia, but that's not necessarily a positive thing. In Czechoslovakia, a 22-year-old and 2 assistants have been charged with pretending to be dentists for a couple of years. The 3 family members opened a surgery clinic without any license at all. No thing at all. Yeah. And they've been doing it for 2 years, and the report says they have no necessary professional knowledge about dentistry at all. In fact, their search history shows that almost every procedure, they would just Google it. Yeah.
No way.
Yes. But, they did find their way. They were offering it very inexpensive treatment. The illegal clinic treated dozens and dozens of patients and made roughly about 4 million Czech koruna, but that's only about $185,000.
Oh, man.
That's how we did it in the Old West.
Yeah.
You just found the town drunk and he pulled your tooth for you.
Hey, here's a crazy
Bring
part.
that whiskey.
Yeah, so the 22-year-old, he was the guy doing the surgery. Another family member provided anesthetics. None of them trained at all. That's just fantastic.
You got a deal on root canals for $29.95.
I mean, okay, now we all go in there and we look at the diplomas on the walls. We don't really pay attention to them. But if there aren't diplomas on the walls, I don't know. If it has one of those YouTube gold things, it says, millions of, that's probably not a good thing. Probably not. It's not the dentist you want. That's not, I know. Okay, Jeff Hunt, final choice this morning, sir. We are reinventing the past or getting to the bottom of the problem?
We're getting to the bottom of the problem here,
Yes,
Bill.
we are going to get to the bottom of the problem, and here we are traveling to wonderful Australia, the land where every single animal is trying to kill you. So I have no idea what's wrong with that continent. Everything's just vicious. It's awful. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a second on Australia. They have a thing called the eastern brown snake. It is one of the most dangerously venomous snakes on the planet. And it is one of the most populous snakes inside of Australia. You can't say, I'm just going to avoid this place and not run into the eastern brown snake. No, they are everywhere. Also, they do not fear humans. They do actually like suburbs because we provide them with food, and also They're little bastards. They are so territorial. Yes, eastern brown snakes are one of the most territorial snakes on the planet. They will come at you. Where, you see the mambas and other things, be like, oh, that's a danger. No. This thing will chase you. If you get into its territory, it will come after you. Yeah, this thing is a nasty critter, and it's in Australia. The things are... I can't say that.
I mean, it's so dangerous it killed Steve Irwin. The country did.
Oh yes, it did. Yeah, but that was a ray.
That was a stingray.
That was a ray. So totally different thing. He went into the water. That's a whole other thing. Okay, so here we are. We are in Perth, Australia, with all those jerk snakes. Okay, but the dog-loving community in Perth has rallied around a really, really tiny pup, a 5-week-old Cavadoodle. It's a tiny puppy that was rescued from a backyard breeder because it had a life-threatening condition. It didn't have a bum hole. No, literally, no bottom.
What?
He couldn't poo. No. And in fact, when it was surrendered to the clinic, they said, well, we tried to take his temperature and then realized, whoopsies, there's nowhere to put the thermometer. That's awkward. And
so can you make one of those?
I like where your mind goes, sir.
Yeah, look on Google like the
yes,
dentist.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure it's in your history. Make sure, can you make a dog bum hole on your search history, not on my search history? Okay.
Sphincter.com.
Yes. Now what happened is, but that's a pay site. Okay. Now here's the deal. Okay. I also want age verification.
How do you know?
I've heard. So I've heard. Now, okay. Now the veterinarian in charge said they began urgent surgery to the backed up poo who wasn't poop. Thanks, good job. Wasn't able to pass poo for 5 weeks. They were able to create a brand new bum hole, and they named the little miracle dog Tushy. Yes. So imagine that. Yeah.
Miracle modern medicine.
I know. We can make bum holes now.
Poor
Yes.
dog.
All right.
Well,
Back to you,
speaking
sir.
of surgeries, transgender surgeries, we'll be discussing next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.